Who I am, I'm Sebastian Lorber. I'm working on Docusaurus with Facebook, which is a documentation framework from which powers many websites like React Native, React Navigation, Jest, Metro, and things like that. But it's not really related to the talk, so let's skip this part for now. What I want to talk to you about is the story of my blog, which started like 3 years ago. What I wanted for my blog was to be able to write technical blog posts, like things I have learned on the field, and I wanted to be able to build interactive content in it. So if I want to embed interactive demos in the blog post, it would be possible. And I wanted it to be a sandbox to learn new things, in particular cross-platform development, and also to make things quite useless, but I would find interesting. I've heard about React Native Web at this time, and I thought, oh, this is a really interesting technology because you can reuse React Native on the web, and it has been used by big players like Twitter and Uber and things like that. I've written a blog post about a specific topic of React Native Web, which is Atomic CSS in JS, which is a pretty cool subject as it permits to have a good scalability of your CSS on a website. But it's not the subject of this talk, so let's pass this. The thing is, the project of my blog was a bit too ambitious because I wanted to learn a lot of things in this process and learn about GraphQL, Gatsby, Reason, React Native, Expo, and also monorepos and things like that. The thing is, 2 years later, I still didn't have a blog, so I decided that it was enough, and I should start with a less ambitious project. And I just started with Gatsby 10, which permitted to have a blog finally, where I just have to write Markdown files. But it was not a total failure because during this time, I was able to create a Gatsby plugin that brought support for React Native Web to Gatsby. And this plugin today plays nicely with the Gatsby 10 that I have chosen for my blog. So I am able to run React Native on my blog, and I'm happy with this idea. So the first part of this talk is about actually running React Native in Gatsby, which we will see through my blog. Just to explain a bit about the technologies, Gatsby is a static site generator that is based on React, which it permits to build a single page application. And it has first-class MDX support, so we will see later what is MDX. Let's see what is React Native Web. React Native Web is somehow a way to convert React DOM APIs to React Native, the opposite. It is a way to convert React Native APIs like view and text and things like that to an equivalent React DOM API. And how does it work exactly? Generally, what you do is you install a Babel plugin that will rewrite the imports for you. So when you import in your app React Native, then the Babel plugin will rewire the imports to React Native Web, and then React Native Web will simply re-implement the React Native primitives through DOM components. So for example, you can see the conversion logic here. It's an example. It's a bit more complicated than that. But you see the idea is that you create a converter that permits to render a React Native view on the web. And the text is almost the same, and all the React Native primitives are implemented this way. So how can we integrate React Native Web on Gatsby? Somehow we can, React Native Web is a bit like a CSS in JS framework. So it's like emotion or style components and things like that. And like any CSS in JS component, what you can do is you can use its server-side rendering mode to render your application as a string, and then the CSS in JS library, which is in this case React Native Web, will permit you to extract the critical CSS that was used during this rendering and to put it in the page, and then you write this HTML page to the disk, and then at the end you end up with a static website. So this is how you integrate Gatsby and React Native Web. And let's see a first example. So here, for example, it was the first attempt that I made to run React Native on Gatsby. And what you can see is that this is a Gatsby page, but it is using React Native elements. And the result you get by doing this is a Gatsby website here with server-side rendering, so it has good SEO support, and it is able to render the React Native components on the web. So let's discuss another interesting part. So for example, if we take this button component, you can see that it only uses React Native APIs. For example, it uses touchable opacity and text. And as it only uses React Native primitives, this component is cross-platform because you are able to convert React Native to React Native Web thanks to the Babel plugin. But let's see another example. So this component here, you can see something different because this is a Gatsby page, and what you can see is that we are using both React DOM primitives like div and h1 and things like that, and at the same time we are using view and text from React Native and the button that we just created just before. So the problem with this patch is that we have both React Native and React DOM APIs, so it is not a cross-platform component because it can only run on the web, because we don't have a way to run divs and h1 and React DOM elements on React Native yet. So let's discuss about MDX. MDX is like an extension of Markdown on which you can import React components and render them. It really compiles to a React component. So when you run MDX on your blog, you don't have any iframe or anything like that. And it permits to embed real interactive code inside blog posts, for example, or any marketing content with interactive widgets if you want. And in the next versions of MDX, there will be Vue and Svelte support normally. So how does it work with Gatsby? Let's see, for example, if you have a blog post like this, you can see there is some Markdown content at the top, like a title and some text. You can import a React Native button in this blog post, and then you can import the MDX file. So when you import it, you have, for example, a Webpack loader that will compile your MDX file as a React component, and then you are able to use this React component in a page if you want. And this leads to this result where you can see that the blog post written in Markdown is able to render in Gatsby as a static website, and the button that we render inside the blog post is interactive and you can interact with it. So this is the first part of the plugin that I was able to build. The proof of concept was working, and I was very happy with this result because it was a proof that it was possible to build Jamstack websites using React Native. So this has the benefits of the Jamstacks, like SEO friendliness, so your content is indexed correctly on Google. It is performant and secure and very easy to host. For example, you can deploy it by just drag and drop it in a folder on Netlify. But the first version of the plugin had some limits. So for example, if you use React Native, you maybe know that you generally need sometimes to customize the code depending on the platform. So generally, you use the Android or .iOS extension. And here, there was not the .web extension for my initial plugin version. Also, there's something important in the React Native ecosystem is that we don't publish the libraries transpiled into NPM. So if you want to use a React Native library on the web, you have to transpile it because the library is not distributed already transpiled. So you have to add additional Webpack configuration and Builder configuration to be able to do this job for you. There is also no dev annotation to run code in only in dev. No Expo Unimodules, we will see later what this is. So we need a lot more Webpack configuration to make it really usable, because my demos are nice, but not very advanced so far. So the thing is, I tried to iterate on this Gatsby plugin for React Native web, and was able to run some libraries that are popular in the React Native ecosystem, like basically the design system libraries like React Native Paper, React Native Elements, and things like that. So you can see that all these libraries are able to run on a Gatsby website. I was able to build a sample to-do application to show that it was also possible to build Jamstack websites on Gatsby, but with more dynamic content. So, for example, here it's only data that comes from an API. And this was the version 2 of the plugin, but it still has some limits. So, for example, I talk about the using third-party libraries that are published and transpiled. So the thing is, I had to maintain an hard-coded list of libraries that will be transpiled, so it was not very future-proof. And it was still a bit hard to set up, and there were still a lot of things remaining to make it production ready. And here comes Expo. So maybe you probably know Expo if you use React Native, because it's some kind of a React Native extension that offers a lot more APIs and a very friendly developer experience. So for example, the React Native core is pretty lean, so now you only find pretty basic primitive components. But if you want, for example, a video, camera, fonts, image picker, and things like that, you will find these advanced components in the Expo SDK. And also, the Expo team has worked hard to bring web support to most of their APIs. So the Expo Unimodules are also able to run on the web, at least some of them, because sometimes the abstraction doesn't permit to have web support. So how do you add Expo and React Native web support with to Gatsby? Thankfully, the Expo team published a Webpack configuration which does everything for you. So there is a package, and you can make it work everywhere where there is Webpack. So if you have a Next, Create React app, or whatever, you are able to use this package, and you take your original Webpack configuration, you wrap it with the function that this package exposes, and then you obtain a Webpack configuration that has Expo and React Native web support, and everything is configured for you, so you don't have to set up a library transpilation, the dev annotations, the web.js expansion, and things like that. Everything is already configured for you. So Evan Bacon from Expo did a really great work to make this simple to use React Native web everywhere, and also all the Expo Unimodules that are some kind of React Native extensions. So what can we build from this setup? Let's see. Let's take another example of a blog post. For example, here it's a blog post about a React Native video that can run in a blog post. So we can see that we import the video component from the Expo SDK, and then we use it inside the blog post. And the result is that we have the blog post running directly in the video running directly in the blog post like this. So this was the first thing I was able to get it running. And I wanted to highlight a bit what is possible thanks to this feature. And the thing is, I tried to make a lot of little demos using Expo SDKs on my own blog. So I have a blog post that you can check online where you can see many Expo and React Native APIs being used on the web. So this is a proof that it is possible. So for example, here is React Native SVG being able to run on the web. Here it's Expo Camera being able to run on the web. on my blog post. Here it's a gesture animation being able to run on the web. Maybe it's not smooth for the conference, but if you try it locally, it will be smooth. Here is another demo where I build an image picker and using Expo API to be able to rotate the images. And here is using a third-party library published by Expo, which is a cross-platform dark mode switch that is pretty nicely designed. And I've wired it to my Gatsby 10, so I am able to actually switch the background when we toggle it. So the takeaway of this part is that Expo and React Native Web has good web support, so you are able to use these APIs on the web. Not all APIs have web support, but most of them work fine. At least the primitives all work fine. So it's possible to use React Native and Expo on the web and build a Jamstack website with good SEO properties, so that if you want to build a marketing website with React Native, it's possible. And it's not very risky, because if you have something that you don't succeed to make it work with React Native, you can still use the .web.js extension. And if you want, you can put jQuery code in it and whatever you want, and it will still work, because somehow React offers a lot of flexibility and to be able to achieve what you need. So you don't have to absolutely use React Native abstractions for everything, and you can still create platform-specific code for more advanced use case. So the use case for this is, I guess, creating a cross-platform design system. And for example, you can then use this cross-platform design system both on your mobile application, your back office, your marketing website, and things like that. I don't think that you should use React Native on the web for everything, but at least it's possible to share some code. For example, if you know that you build a mobile application, you can start a cross-platform design system based on React Native Web and use it on the web for your marketing website, so that at least the experience feel coherent between the web and mobile without any code duplication. So now we will see another part of the talk, which is React Native, MDX inside React Native. So we have seen that we are able to run MDX on the web. But the thing is, we have written content. Now, is it possible to render such content on a React Native web, on a React Native application, sorry? So let's take a simple example. For example, this is a simple blog post, which use MDX component in it, a React component in it. So the first step, how MDX works, the first step is the compilation process. So as you have seen, we compile the MDX source code to a JSX component. So in the end, this is what the bundler will receive after the transpilation, because it doesn't understand MDX, so it is compiled by MDX to a JSX component. So in the end, it's really a JSX component running. So here you can see that the blog post is compiled using React DOM primitives like div and heading and paragraphs and things like that. So we can wonder, how can we make this work on React Native, because it is not using React Native primitives elements. So the second step of the transpilation process is the Babel plugin that transforms JSX to regular JS, because as you know, JSX is not something standard in JS. So you have to transpile it before being able to use it on your application as a React component. What you can see here is that it replaced the JSX elements by React.createElement calls. It's important for the next part. What you can see is that we are using div and h1 and paragraph elements, but these elements don't run on React Native. Somehow we need the opposite of React Native Web, which is a way to convert the DOM elements to React Native elements, so that we are able to run this in React Native. So there is a solution to this problem. It's called GSX Pragma and the MDX provider. There are potentially other solutions, but I will only talk about the one that I've explored. The thing is, the Babel plugin that transforms GSX to JS is able to take a pragma, and the pragma is a little comment that you put at the very top of the file, which says which is the GSX factory function to use during this transpilation. So this is a way to tell the Babel transformer to not use React.createElement, but instead to use the MDX.GSX function. So in the end, after the Babel transpilation, if you add this pragma, you end up with a new output, which is using the GSX function from MDX. And thanks to this GSX function from MDX, we are able to use the MDX provider, which allows you to tell MDX that every DOM API, every DOM primitive component he finds, he will replace with the custom component that you provide. So, for example, it gives you the opportunity to convert the React DOM elements through React Native primitives. So somehow, like React Native Web, which converted React Native primitives to React DOM primitives, here we are doing the opposite. For example, if we have a div, we will try to convert it to a view. If we have a paragraph, we will convert it to a text. And if we have an anchor, we will try to convert it to a pressable text. So let's see the full example. At the end of the compilation process, you end up with a React component, which is using the GSX function from MDX. And then we have built a provider using the MDX provider that provides the conversion logic. And then you can wrap the MDX component with this provider. And once you try to run this, you end up with MDX running on your mobile application this way. So you can see that the blog post content is still interactive. You can press the button and the button is able to show something. So now let's see if we can make it work with a real blog post. So this is the blog post I have written. You can see that it is a lot more complicated than the former examples that I've displayed to you. It has front matter at the top, which is some metadata about the blog post, like the title, the hero image, the author, and things like that. And it has a lot more content. For example, it has images and things like that in the body. So I tried to run this blog post on React Native using the logic I've shown you just before. And I had a lot of errors, for example, due to missing React DOM conversions. So for example, if you have a single DOM element that you didn't convert to React Native, you end up with errors because React Native receives React DOM elements and it doesn't understand what to do about it. And also there are some errors which are related to trying to render text without wrapping it in the text element of React Native. So you know that if you use React Native, that every text has to be wrapped in a text element, otherwise it will fail. For example, here, if I try to render text in a view element, it doesn't work. So in the end, you end up with a quite complex conversion logic like this, where every DOM element has to be converted to a React Native equivalent. And once it's done, it almost works, but you still have another problem, which is the images. So if you use React Native, you know that you can't use just relative image paths in your application. You have to require the images to obtain the URI of the image. And then you pass this as a prop to the image component. So here, for example, the problem is that after the compilation process, you still use a relative image path and it doesn't work. So I've found a hacky solution that is just to use regex to replace the compiled source code to require calls. So this is a bit hacky, but it works. Once I did this, I was able to get a full blog post running on a mobile on the React Native application. So, for example, here you can see the blog post with embedded images. But there is still one problem, is that we don't have any header to this blog post. So, for example, the front metadata of the blog post, like the title and the hero image, is not displayed. So for now, we will just hardcode this data like we did here, and we will render the blog post in a scroll view and add the hero image at the top, the title just after, and then we will add the markdown content at the bottom. So once we do this, we have a blog post running on the mobile application this way. So now let's think about how can we make this more production ready and maybe try to build a static mobile app generator. So basically, we want to have a Markdown folder where you put all the content. For example, you have a content like the folder blog where you put all your blog posts in Markdown format. And we would like to be able to have a real application from this. So how can we build this? So the first thing is to take all the MDX files of the content folder, for example, and we will process each of these files this way. We will read the file. We will obtain the source code of the MDX string. We will compile it to JSX as a component. We will write back the file to the disk. And what happens after? What is the compilation process of the MDX string? So we extract front matter with the gray matter package, which is a popular package to extract the front matter of Markdown. We will expose it as a const on every component that is compiled. And then we will compile the MDX to JSX with the MDX compiler. And we will add at the top the JSX pragma so that we can use the MDX provider. Then, once we have processed all these files, we need an index. So we need a list of all the blog post React components that we just created through the generation step. So we iterate on each of them and create a source code file which export the blog post list. So basically, once we run this code, you end up with a list of all the blog posts in JSX format because they have already been compiled. Then we need to create a navigation. So here we are using React Navigation. We create a stack navigator with two screens. The blog post list will be the home, and the blog post will be when you press on a single blog post, you open a new stack screen, which is displayed the preset blog post. And then we apply the React Native MDX provider that is able to convert the MDX blog post to React Native. Here is the detail of a blog post list screen, so it's not very complicated. You import the list that you generated from the generation step, and it's a regular screen where you just create a scroll view where you display all the blog posts as cards, so that each card is after one another. And then you create a single screen for single blog post. So we create a header for each blog post to display the font matter, for example, the title and the hero image and the publication date and things like that. And then we render the MDX content and we wire a back button so that we can navigate back to the blog post list. So once this is done, you can get a real application running this way. So it's the same content that I run on my blog. I am able to run it on the React Native application, and it's not using any web view or anything like that. It's using real React Native primitive components like views and text and images. And the thing interesting is that if you take an interactive blog post with embedded MDX demos like that, as I've shown before, these demos run on the web, but they also run on React Native. And I think it's pretty cool because it permits to create somehow interactive cross-platform content. So this is the takeaway of this part, is that MDX is cross-platform, React Native is cross-platform, Expo is cross-platform, and you are able really to create interactive cross-platform content. So the third part of my talk is about how can we automate all this. This is pretty simple. If you know Gatsby, it's a simple static site generator, so you can just run the Gatsby build command through the package listen, for example, and this will build your static website. So you are able to deploy it easily through any Jamstack hosting solution like Netlify. So, for example, every time you commit to your Markdown content, you can have it running, and then it will deploy to your website the updated version. And also, if you know Expo, you know that you can publish the JS of the application to a CDN, and then your native application will fetch this JavaScript, and we will be able to update over the air so that the new content is available on mobile too. So this is pretty nice because just by committing something on a Markdown file, I am able to deploy it both to my website and also to the mobile application. So this is pretty nice because I'm already able to get iOS, Android, and web working. It's nice, but there is something interesting too, is that React Navigation 5 has web support, and Expo also has a web support. So basically, any Expo app has a command that you can run, which is build web, and permits you to extract your application as a PWA. So let's see if we can make this work. We will add a new step in the automated process here, which is the Expo build web process. And what we will get with just this line is a mobile website that is the reflection of the Expo mobile application. So it will not be the same as the Gatsby one. It will be it will not use Gatsby this time. It will use React Navigation as the routing library, and it will not be as good for SEO purpose because it will not be a static, pre-rendered application. So it will only render client side, but you will end up with a new version of your application, which is based on React Navigation 5. So the takeaway is that I just need to commit MDX content, and everything is automated. I am able to deploy on iOS, on Android, and on web and on mobile web through React Navigation 5. The trade-off is that now I have to pay Netlify because I consume a lot of CI power. So the last part of my talk is about all the other platforms. As we have seen, my claim is that MDX is cross-platform, but there are also other platforms that you know about, like you probably know now that React Native supports macOS and Windows, thanks to the work of Microsoft, and also other platforms. What I want to show you here is that it's possible actually to also run the same content I've shown you just before on other platforms. So for example, here it's something I was able to get it working, is to take a blog post written in MDX and being able to deploy it as a macOS try-up. So this is not using Review, it's really macOS primitive components that are running here. There is no iframe or anything like that. So this is a pretty useless demo, but I thought it was pretty interesting to see if I was able to get this running, and I'm pretty happy with the results so far. I was not able to try other platforms because it takes a bit of time to do these demos, but I hope to be able to see if I am able to do the same on Windows and TV and maybe the next platforms that React Native will support. So what I want to to say is that you can really run MDX everywhere. As you have the MDX provider, you are able to override the React DOM components that MDX generate by any platform-specific primitives that you want. So you are able to write any conversion logic from React DOM to React Native or React Native macOS or any other platform. So MDX is really a cross-platform technology. And all this is running without any web view. My thought on React Native macOS is that it looks really ready to be used. So it's time to try to run something on it. And I was pretty impressed that it was quite stable for my test. So thank you for listening to me. If you want to have links about the material of my talk, you can click on this link. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want to discuss about the talk. You can. I encourage you to try the Gatsby plugin so that you can try to run React Native on your own blog like I did. And if you want to try my mobile application generated from my blog post, it's published on Expo and you have a QR code. There are all the instructions are published on the first link. So I will pass the link on the chat. So if you want to click and try it, you can. Thank you. It's the end of my talk.